our third area, which is the students are going to think, and one of the things we're trying to do with all three of these assignments is think about the creative aspect in addition to all the financial and accounting and marketing aspects. But you just talked about price points, and the beauty of a theme park is it's usually not the only revenue that you're getting.
Yes.
You might be buying souvenirs and things like that, but you're most certainly going to be buying food. So let's shift to menu items. And our students are going to be focusing on thinking about one of the pavilions in Epcot, and they get to pick which one and dream up a menu item. But talk to me, let's start with why is it, you just talked about evolving rides in the park. Why is it so important to keep evolving menus at the same time?
Yeah, well, it is interesting about food and beverage. If you go back probably only 5-10 years ago, I think theme park food was hamburgers and hot dogs and fries. Those are still staples to the theme park experience. But we also know that our consumer has evolved. And so the demand for different types of foods has also increased and evolved along with it. Again, different segments of the business. So our Hispanic population, we want to make sure they can see foods and have choices that they are excited about. We have a significant Asian population as well. So we do a Lunar New Year event every year, and we want to make sure that the food that we provide at that event is it's legitimate to what our Asian guests would believe a Lunar New Year experience would be. So it comes down to you want to be relevant, and food now is think about how food is covered on Instagram and how food has become a driver of experience. It is also true with us. Food has become a driver of our experience. When I talk about the Magic Keys, if we create some new food offerings, those Magic Keys will come for that food experience. They might not come that night to go ride an attraction, but if we have a new type of chocolate mousse something, they'll come, one, because it's Instagrammable, and two, because it's a new thing.
Right.
And so that's why food and beverages, I think before it was an afterthought, but today it sits at the forefront of a lot of the experiences that we are creating. Our Food and Wine Festival, where we get the opportunity to highlight various different aspects of the culinary creatives that we have in our organization, has become very popular. It's hugely popular at Epcot because it does allow our guests to experience things from a culinary perspective that they just don't get the opportunity to experience. So you got to stay relevant and you got to evolve. You also have to be very careful because let's talk about the cost side of this.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
It's the same as parks. You don't want to just invent something new and add cost.
That's exactly right. In a world where we are dealing with tariffs, and in a world that we are dealing with high food costs, you have to be very mindful about what are the components and the ingredients that make up whatever it is that you're about to create. Because if you're picking, if you got to be able to price it in a way that the consumer is interested, and you got to price it in a way where you can make a profit off it at the same time. So there's a lot of aspects to what that product is, or what that food and beverage offering is, that go into what is the new next thing that we're about to create. But it's an exciting space, and so I think your team or your students getting the opportunity to think about food and beverage. It is a much bigger player in the theme park world than it has ever been. And I think it's because food is an experience now, and it's not just a necessity.
It's such a great point. And, I think about all the theme parks, which we haven't talked about around the world. You've got, in France, you've got 2 in China, Japan, et cetera. So it's not just a United States activity. This is how do I fit different foods in different parks around the world, too.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I think about Epcot. I spent about 12 years of my career at Walt Disney World, and Epcot, don't tell my Disneyland colleagues, and but it is one of my favorite parks that we have. And food plays such an important role when you think about the different pavilions around the World Showcase. And you got to get it right. I mean, if you're going to represent Germany or you're going to represent Mexico, you need to have a culinary experience that matches what that culture is. And so
authenticity.
And authenticity is spot on.
Yeah.
And so we always strive for that. And it tells a story. The food in our Adventures campus at California Adventure, we have Pym's Kitchen, which for those of you in the Marvel lore, Pym is the one that creates the ability for Ant-Man to grow big and get small. And so we have food offerings that play along that storyline. We have pretzels that are oversized. We have a chicken sandwich that is oversized. But then we also have foods that are micro and
tiny.
small. Yeah. And so it carries the story forward. And again, at the end of the day, we want our guests to feel immersed in the experience. And so when you are in Adventures Campus and maybe you just got the opportunity to talk to Ant-Man and now you're sitting down to a meatball that is, the size of your head, it just plays along with the experience.
Right, you feel part of the experience.
That's right.
Even with the food.